Welcome to Viewpoint, your personality, politics, and perspectives. So this morning we have a real personality, and we're going to have a perspective or two. And in order to stay on the air, we're going to stay off the subject of politics, although I've got a comment or two I'd like to make, but Mr. Ash has got the checkbook in hand, and so I won't do that.
Put down your stick, Jim. I won't let him say that.
Take your hand off the key. Well, normally, those two of you who are out there listening, hanging on every word we say.
Both ones of you.
Remember that we always try to start Viewpoint with a kudo, or maybe two or three. Today, I'd like to start with Carroll Catholic's principal, Mr. David Welch. The kids at Carroll Catholic raised over $300 in the principal's honor to buy some equipment for somebody somewhere else outside the community, and they did that in honor of their principal. So I thought, pretty obviously, that speaks very highly of him if the kids want to do that for their principal.
Yes.
So congratulations, Tom and Murray. Looked like you did a pretty good job with your son, David. Thank you very much. Christmas Express, that's what I wanted to come up with. You know, we had, sitting here where Mr. Thomas is sitting, we had Kathy Williams and Lisa Kookaroo Drew talking about this very subject last week, or the week before. I can't remember when. Anyway, they were with us. In any event, they were talking about, and they have accomplished, among the other things they're doing to attract business downtown. And by the way, hats off to all those people who are working hard in conjunction with one another to make things a little busier downtown. So good for them. The group put up some trees. I hope they're still with us. I drove around the corner the other day, and I thought, oh, boy, that looks nice. They had a bunch of trees up. Put up by the students of Creative Opportunities, a CEO group. And those young people did the physical work. So it looks really, really nice. Now somebody else is doing the decorating. I'm not sure the details on that. But it's a nice community event. And the fact that our merchants downtown work together, and then they got their CEO group, it kind of like Bill Thomas getting things together up here in Atlanta,
etc.
Things get moved, and it's a nice thing. So kudos to those folks, by golly. Kathy has let's see, the name of her little establishment is Downtown Creations, I believe.
Yes, Kathy Williams.
I'll have to stop in and offer her a drink or something. Let's get serious and introduce our guest this morning. Guy I first met when my grandchildren were going to school there in Atlanta, and I said at the time, Judith K., that guy's got it together. And obviously that's so. So introduce Bill Thomas.
He has, and he's always involved in something, and he is, among other titles, he's the chairman of the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership, and we're going to discuss that and all it means to our area. And thank goodness for people like you, Bill Thomas, who take the bull by the horns and try to do something to help our area prosper.
I always wanted to do rodeo work.
Yeah.
Rodeo work.
Yeah.
Well, you're awful good at it. You head them up and move them out, I'll tell you that. Well, tell us a little bit about the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership. You've had this designation on the Route 66 trail you're trying to establish.
Yeah. You know, we all have, if we're fortunate, passions in our lives. And I've always loved my work. I've always loved the things I've done in the community. But over the last 15 or so years, I've discovered a new passion, and that's Route 66. I'm sure,
yes.
I hope both of your listeners are familiar with Route 66 and know of its historic significance in the country, but I'm having a great time with a whole bunch of other people across the country in helping preserve it, promote it, and economically develop it. And that's what this organization, the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership, is all about. We want to save the road for the future.
Well, and it has a future, and it sure has
Yes,
a
it does.
past. Come the 11th of November in 26, which isn't that darn far off.
No.
It will be 100 years old, which seems amazing to me. Really.
Because
so
you
will
remember
I.
driving it when it first... Or,
I was driving it, yes, when I was very young.
okay.
You know, I've always kind of, when I'm up in this neck of the woods, I like to go into Palms, and one of the things I enjoy doing is look at the register there, and I just look through to say where people, where they are and where they come from.
Yes.
And it's amazing to me, and I use that word advisedly, amazing, the mystique of the Route 66.
It's amazing to us, too, Bill.
Particularly from Europe, and more especially Central and Eastern Europe. It's amazing
Yes.
to see names from some country from way over there.
And I think what that can be attributed to is many Europeans especially, but then also Australians, people from South America, people from Asia, they look upon Route 66, and for them anyway, it epitomizes and represents real America. And if they're interested in this country at all, that's what they want to know about and experience. So I think that's why we have so many international
They'll come over here and
visitors.
they'll rent cars, for goodness sakes, and tour the country. But if they're going to do that, you can sure bet that they're going to be on Route 66 at some point of their journey.
Yes, absolutely. Cars and motorcycles. This year alone, I know of, and I'm sure I'm missing some, we had at least 2 different motorcycle groups from the Czech Republic
Really?
come through. Yes, and they do the whole route every year.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Now, is the route promoted by organizations such as yours pretty much up and down the route?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, Judy, that explains why we now have the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership. When the road was decommissioned as a U.S. federal
Yes.
highway, and you remember we all thought of it, and the first image that came to mind was the black and white shield highway signs.
Yeah.
Those were all along the road, as you probably well know, from Chicago to L.A. But then it was decommissioned because the interstate system replaced it in the early 1980s. When it went away as a U.S. federal highway, a group of folks in each of the 8 states that it travels through decided, well, we want to keep this thing going. It's such an important part of our lives and our country's history. So state associations were actually formed in each individual state to promote the road. And my favorite story about that is there are 8 states through which the road runs. There are 9 Route 66 associations.
That's it.
What, does somebody
Yes,
get the
because-
Hatfields and McCoys?
Yes,
or
there are
something?
Hatfields and McCoys, lovely people. I know them. And I've told this story in front of them. Kansas has 11.3 miles of Route 66. It's the shortest distance, but they have 2 state associations in
Is that
Kansas.
right?
Yes, a couple cousins don't necessarily see eye to eye. So we have 9
That
state
is a
associations.
hoot.
Yeah.
Now, do you really know what in the name of thunder ever made that happen?
No, I really don't know the entire backstory, but it's fine. We have
Well,
9
sure,
associations.
it's fine,
yeah.
but it's just, I mean,
Kansas only has
amazing.
almost 12 miles.
Yeah, about 11.3 miles.
Isn't
of
that interesting?
66.
I never knew that.
But a lot of tourist product, if you will, in Kansas. Things to do, see, enjoy, experience. But anyway, you had this situation where you've got 9 different organizations trying to promote the road, but they're really looking at it primarily from their state alone. So 4 or 5 years ago now, gosh, maybe 6 years ago, the National Park Service, which is very interested in preserving Route 66, and of all things, the World Monuments Fund decided this is of global significance, it needs to be saved. So those two organizations partnered together and said, let's bring everybody from the state associations and other parties interested in Route 66 together and see if we can create one new organization that tries to coordinate all of it. So that's what the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership is.
Well, what was this business about the World Monument?
Yes, I don't know if you know the World Monuments Fund.
No.
But
No,
it
sir.
is an international organization that is dedicated to preserving significant historic places around the entire world.
Well, nobody's talked to me about that.
So I mean, we're in the company of the pyramids,
Seriously.
the Great Wall of China, all these iconic places.
And
that
we're
you
saying
think
that
of.
Route 66 kind of is on a par with that insofar as interest is concerned.
Well, they recognize that this is a really significant piece of not only American but international history because it represents the rise of transportation and the whole automobile culture.
Yeah.
And the road reflects that. So they said, we need to save it. So they partnered with the National Park Service.
How long have they been partnered with them? Because it's almost 100 years old, really, for all
Right.
intents
Well,
and purposes.
the involvement of the World Monuments Fund only goes about 5-6 years ago. Okay, and they actually put Route 66 on their list of endangered historic places across the globe.
Really?
Yes. And their main goal, their main job was to try and see if the people along 66 in the U.S. would create a new organization that spanned the entire road and work to promote it. So that's what they did, and now they've sort of stepped back from the picture.
Well, now you've got a couple congressmen that are working with you here, Darren LaHood and Rodney Davis. Now, have they been on board for quite some time?
One of the first things we did as the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership was reach out to Congressman LaHood first and Congressman Davis second, because we knew there were a couple of important things the federal government could do to help us meet our mission of preserving and promoting the road. So we went to Darren. Remember, we had lunch up in Atlanta about 3 years ago, and he was there for one of those meetings. You know, they come back and talk to constituents. And I buttonholed him afterwards and said, Darren, will you help us introduce legislation to designate the road a new National Historic Trail? And to his credit, he picked up on it just like that, and he's been working on it ever since.
Now, there was no quid pro quo with that, was it?
There was no quid pro quo other than Darren simply doing his job to represent his constituents.
I think
he saw the
Darren-
benefit.
I think he and Darren and Rodney do a pretty good job of representing their area.
They do an
They're
excellent job.
conservative gentlemen, and
Yes.
I'm comfortable with them.
Me too. Now, Rodney, on the other hand, we approached because we all know in 2026 the road will celebrate its 100th anniversary, and that is going to be, we feel, a global event. One of my friends, Bill Kelly, who's in charge of the Scenic Byway program here in Illinois, his main line is, the world is going to come to this birthday party. And they will, because what's bigger than the 100th birthday party of one of the most famous roads on the
Incidentally,
planet?
Bill's a fraternity brother of mine.
Really?
From there's a considerable difference in years.
Yeah,
but
he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
And he's doing, that's what his work is now.
He just retired.
Oh, he did.
In the end of October, Bill. But Rodney Davis, we said, Rodney, will you please help us introduce legislation so that we establish a federal level, national level, 100th anniversary commission so we can appropriately plan for and take advantage of this birthday?
Pardon me for being me, but does that help with financing? Because everything takes financing.
Everything takes financing. And yes, it does, because many people may think, I may be in the minority here, but I'm going to keep pushing it regardless. Most people think of the 100th anniversary coming up, we'll have a grand celebration, we'll do we'll do parades, and we'll have events and car shows, etc. I want to do all of that. But the real opportunity here is to leverage this event for economic development purposes.
Sure.
Okay? Because we can help people and communities all along the road realize, hey, if you build up your road in your community, if you save the buildings along it, if you bring back businesses along it, people will come and this birthday party will bring them. So.
Well, goodness knows, we here in Central Illinois need just exactly that.
I'll tell you what we need here, too. It just occurred to me. We're sitting here once through moving along with the program because I enjoy Mr. Thomas so much and what he has to say. And I all of a sudden realized, we got sponsors. They're sitting there waiting. When are you going to put us on? When are you going to put us on? We're going to do it right now. Go ahead, Mr. Ash. Right back live in the studios here, WLCN. Program is Viewpoint, of course, coming on every Wednesday. Sometimes we haven't missed a Wednesday yet, have we?
Not to my knowledge. Jim would know.
We're going to.
I think
This is on a Wednesday.
Oh God, he had me worried for a minute.
End of the trail, huh, Padre?
He knows something you don't, evidently, Bill.
And there's the rub.
Oh, dear.
Our guest this morning, Mr. Bill Thomas, former school administrator, and that's where I first met Bill. And now he's working very hard to work on the Route 66 mystique. Your exact title, sir?
I'm chairman of the board of the Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership.
Can you talk to him about what he just talked about then? Since you're chairman of the board. Oh, that's not this board.
No, not this board. No, only one board at a time.
Tell us a little bit, please, Bill, about the establishment of the Logan County Visitors Welcome Centers. That's an important thing to this community.
I and some other folks have had a wonderful time doing that, and it directly relates to Route 66. It also directly relates to improving and enhancing tourism here in the county. Myself, some good folks from down in Elkhart and over in Mount Pulaski, and Morgan Gleason. You know Morgan, she's our executive director of the Logan County Tourism Bureau. Mm-hmm. We got together, well over a year ago, and we're just brainstorming ways to try to get more tourists to come to Logan County, because tourism dollars are the ones you want, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, that's money coming in from elsewhere. In terms of economics, that's not just us giving money to each other here in the county. That's money coming in.
Added money.
Yes, added money. So they're golden dollars. Anyway, we came up with this idea of the Tourism Bureau down in Lincoln, and especially now that they're at the train station, does a wonderful job welcoming people. They have a gorgeous facility there at the depot. I'm sure you've seen it. It's just beautiful. But we have people that come into our county on 55 from the south into Elkhart, from the north in Atlanta, and from over in the east, Pulaski. So we decided, well, let's figure out a way to make sure if you're coming into our county, we have the opportunity to share with you all the various places you can go and visit and, underlined, spend your money. So we proposed, let's establish a Logan County Visitors Welcome Center in each of those 3 gateway communities, and we've done it. We've still got a tiny bit of work to finish the project, but about midsummer this past tourist season, those were all up and running.
You know, I don't want to leave anybody out, but it seems to me that the folks over in Vinegar Hill and those in Elkhart, they have a kind of a unique working operation. They work nicely together.
They work very well
And
together.
I don't want to leave anybody out in that,
Right.
but I feel very strongly that's what's going on in those 2 communities.
It is, and it was nice to be able to bring Atlanta into that mix and Lincoln into that mix, so you had all 4 of those communities doing a joint project with each other.
The tourism office in Lincoln was a fatherless child for a while. It got kicked around from spot to spot, and we lost our continuity.
Right.
And has that been bridged over now with our establishing that office?
I think it has been bridged over. Have you been to the depot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice.
It's a great facility, and I think we got a good person in Morgan Gleason running it. She has some great ideas, and most importantly, from my perspective anyway, she thinks of things in terms of the entire county. Okay, so she knows this is a group.
So she's on
effort.
the same page you are.
Yeah, very much. Well,
Yes.
that's why I like her. Yeah.
Well,
Honestly.
that
So,
tends to help form
it does.
friendships.
It does help.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
The objective is, of course, to get the tourists to drop a buck or two as they go through
Yep.
Logan County. There are all kinds of opportunities for them to do that, and I've noticed. We talked about the motorcycle groups from Europe. That's kind of a big thing, to have groups come over and get their either rent bikes or ship their bikes or whatever they do, and start up at Chicago, up there on Wacker and I'm trying to think of the street that began on
Jackson and Michigan Avenue.
Michigan Avenue,
Yeah,
thank you.
corner of Jackson and Michigan Avenue.
And when they get to St. Louis, they've had quite an exciting ride.
They have, because Illinois has a tremendous amount to do and see and experience along Route 66. We're very fortunate as to how many buildings we've preserved, how much of the roadbed you can still drive on, how many experiences you can have. It's a great start to anybody's trip on Route 66.
You know, when anyone thinks of Illinois, I think that the first stop is Abraham Lincoln, and rightly so. But there's so much more here that we've overlooked for so long, just because of our fascination with good old honest Abe.
The data shows from the tourism sector, Judy, that the top 3 tourist attractions domestically and internationally in Illinois are Chicago, Abraham Lincoln, and Route 66. And Route 66 is, I'm going to go out on a limb, but I think I'm correct, the number 2, actually. Yeah.
My birthplace was not mentioned.
Oh, well, I think it's on the list, Bill, but I think you have to turn the page.
The Palms, interesting restaurant and nice restaurant too, by the way. I've just always enjoyed sitting there at that counter, looking through as I alluded to earlier this morning. Gosh, these Czechoslovakia and God knows where, Sudan and all these strange places that I only read about in the National Geographic.
And I think one of the reasons it's successful, especially with Route 66 tourists, is because we hear time and time again from folks traveling the road. They want to experience what it was like along Route 66 back in the day. So that's our intent. We wanted people to walk in the door and feel like they were back in the 1930s or 1940s. The best comment I've seen in the guest book, it just thrilled me. Somebody, I don't even remember where now they're from, but they wrote back, "Thanks, this is the best time machine on Route 66." And I thought,
that right?
yeah,
That says
we've
it all.
done it. We've done it.
That says the whole thing right
Yep.
there.
Yep, they captured it.
Well,
Best time
speaking of
machine.
time machines, you have a vintage motel task force. How interesting. Now, wouldn't the Buckles Motel have been on that?
I'm sorry, I don't know the Buckles.
Well, it ended up being Joyce Kinsey's motel.
It's all
They're in the big city of Lincoln, America.
it's
Okay.
on the what I call still call it the bypass around Lincoln.
Okay. You give me a little...
about in the neighborhood of where Eaton is.
Oh, okay. No,
Across the
On
street.
the south side
I
of
did
that
not.
road.
This is news to me. I don't know about this aspect of our
You
history.
mean I knew something you didn't know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jim, next time you give me my review, make a note, will you? Please and thank you. I thought that was interesting. And the Harvest Host project.
This is another thing
You're a
that
busy man.
This is another thing that we worked on and are working on with Morgan Gleason.
Uh-huh.
I was scrolling through. I'll admit I was wasting some time on Facebook one day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
And
you see
this-
my grandchildren's picture there?
Yes, absolutely. And I've liked it every time. A little ad popped up, or a post about something called Harvest Hosts. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, sir.
I hadn't either. And I thought, well, what is this? And it showed a big picture of a big RV, one of those big trailers.
Yes.
So I clicked on it, started reading about it. Whoever came up with this idea, and I actually know because I've talked with the guy now, was a genius. There are lots of people that have these RVs, and they travel all over the country. But there's a common complaint evidently amongst them. Oh, we get tired of staying at the same kind of KOA campground or other standard campground. We'd really like to be able to stay at some more interesting places. His genius idea, he started going out and recruiting wineries, golf courses, organic farms, museums, other interesting places that had enough room where an RV or two could park and spend the night. And he said, here, let's make a deal. If you'll let one of these self-contained RVs spend the night at your place for free, we'll have people pledge to buy something from you or make a donation if you're a museum.
Okay.
So now there's an organization of I don't know how many thousands of RV members who have signed up to be part of the Harvest Horse program, but they pay, I think, $79 a year, and then they get access to the map of where all these places are across North America. And there are over 750 of them. So when I saw that, I thought, well, I wonder how many there are along Route 66 across the country. I checked. I became a member. I lied and said I had an Airstream trailer so I could become a member. Paid my money because I wanted access to the map.
Bless you, my child. You're forgiven.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Because that was the only way I was going to see the map. And I love Airstreams. Anyway, became a member. Looked, there were only 7 Harvest Host places along Route 66 from Chicago to L.A.
Oh, my
and I said,
gracious.
oh, the Road Ahead Partnership can help you find more places.
Oh, yeah.
So I reached out to this guy and said, hey, do you want to work with us? We'll find you places, because that brings more people to Route 66, and it helps him get more members. So we've been doing that the last year or so. Pontiac, Illinois is now a Harvest Host site. We have 3 sites in Atlanta where you can park. I'm working with Lincoln. Broadwell has said they'll do a site by where the old Pig Hip
Yes.
used to
Yes.
be, and still trying to get one in Elkhart. Why not
Yeah.
figure out a way to get people to spend the night in
Well,
Logan
amen.
County?
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, and then that ties in with your vintage motel task force.
Sort of. It's just another way
One
of.
thing begets another.
It's just another way of putting a head in a bed. Yes.
Yeah.
The vintage oh, I love this one because I love everything that is vintage and of that era from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. There are still lots of original mom and pop motels along Route 66. But you can imagine how hard it is to keep them open, how competitive it is with the big motel chains and hotel chains. Do you know the Wagon Wheel Motel down in Carthage, Missouri? Very famous Route 66 motel. The Blue Swallow out in New Mexico. Lots of them. Anyway, since we're a national organization and we're supposed to help everybody along the road, I said, well, let's get together a group of owner-operators, folks who run these motels, because they've never had sort of a professional organization. I said, let's get them together and see what their challenges and problems are, have them brainstorm what it would take to address those challenges and problems, and then we'll help them. So we're doing that. You're going to get an exclusive, okay? Announcing here for the first time publicly.
Turn up the volume.
Turn up the volume. Yeah, take the cat off the control board to make sure everything works. In the beginning of 2020, we're going to announce the formation of the Route 66 Motel Collection.
Oh.
That will be a website and an organization of quality assured vintage motels all along Route 66. We'll promote them. You can go to one central site and make reservations there. And the key is, many people coming to Travel 66, they don't know if this is a good motel or not. You know, if you're going to a Holiday Inn, you're probably going to have a good experience because it's quality assured.
Have some standards.
Has some standards. But you don't know that. If you wanted to stay at the Blue Swallow in New Mexico and never been there, you don't know. So these are quality assured. We've set a level of standards that they all have to meet. So we will assure you, yes, this is a clean, affordable, high quality motel. and we'll promote them. And we think that's really going to help these places. That's just one thing we're doing with the Vintage Motel
How
Task
many
Force.
hours are there in your day? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
27.
nosy. I knew they must
27.
have more than I had. We're using differently.
No. And it's not just me, Judy. That's the beauty of it. I'm working with an organization that has people from all over the country contributing. And with the Vintage Motel Task Force, I don't do that much. We just brought these people together, and somebody taught me long ago, back when I was a principal, Bill, if you're trying to solve a problem at a school or in a school district, bring the people together because there is wisdom in the group.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that. I've learned that. I've
It's worked for
experienced
you,
it.
too.
Yes. So all you do is bring together people that can solve problems and then turn them loose.
Bless your heart.
You know, on a side note, I always thought these folks who run a mom and pop motel situation, as opposed to the biggies.
Yep.
That's a tough way to make a buck.
My gosh.
That's hard work.
That's 24/7, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And one of the things they told us when we got them together, the first thing we did was say, okay, list all your challenges. What are the primary challenges? I think number 1 or 2 on the list, we're killing ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're working so much and we never get a break.
No.
So one of the things the Vintage Motel is doing, all these members of the Route 66 Motel Collection, we have enough resources at the road ahead. We're going to provide them with someone who is a retired motel owner or someone who has experience in motel management. We're going to send them to their motel for a week. So those owner-operators get a week off and can just recharge their batteries. That's one of the benefits of belonging to the collection.
Oh, man, that would be such a boon.
You know, some of these big motor coach manufacturers, Prevost,
Yes.
in that category, they have, my brother ran a tour group for one of those. He owned a Prevost.
Oh, okay.
And Country Coach was actually the name of it, up in Oregon. And he and his wife, they ran tour groups around. They would collect it, and you would pay them so much to join their group.
Yep.
And then you had to agree to conform to what they had to do. They didn't tour on the highway together. They were going to start at such and such a time and finish, so they wouldn't be all bunch of buses lined up traffic-wise.
Yep.
So it worked out very well for him. As a matter of fact, as the operator of the tour group, he made himself some kind of substantial money before it was all said and done.
Yep. That's definitely part of the lifeblood of 66, those kind of groups. And then just the big bus companies,
and
too.
These big bus companies, they advocate that because all that does is enhance their sales.
Sure.
Yep. We have 2 buses coming to Atlanta next week, one on Monday and one on Tuesday. And they're one of my favorite kinds of bus groups. Do you know what I'm talking about if I say mystery tour?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I think I didn't know about it until 5 or so years ago when we started getting mystery tours. I think it's the craziest thing. I don't know if I'd pay good money to get on a bus and not know where I was going.
Yeah.
But people do it and they love it.
Yeah.
They love it.
It's the experience of a different way of traveling.
It sure is.
Well, and maybe a lot of those people have traveled traditional trips for years, and they're just looking for something that's a little bit off the beaten path.
Right. Here's my money. Just entertain me.
Yeah,
I don't care
right.
where we go. Just entertain me. Okay.
There you go.
Yep.
There are people out there who can do that.
Yep.
Sure.
Now, Route 66 and 55, they're not synonymous, but in many places they are almost synonymous. How does that work out as far as your work is concerned?
Sometimes it proposes a challenge because you're right, Bill. There are a few places where they built 55 just over the top of 66. And to put on purely my Route 66 hat, that hurts because people who travel Route 66 want to travel on the original pavement. And when they have to get off and they find themselves on an interstate, that's not the experience they're looking for.
That's what they're trying to avoid.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, I'm not going to find too much fault with 55. 55 is, throughout Logan County, a golden pipeline of people coming from elsewhere with money in their pockets, and we have an opportunity to get some of that. So it's a good thing in that regard. Yeah.
How big is your group that you get together? Let's say you have a meeting XYZ place. How big is your?
There are about 15 of us on the Route 66 excuse me, board. We have a representative from each of the 8 states, and then we have established 5 working groups that focus on different areas: promotion, economic development, preservation, etc. And the chairman of those groups also sit on the board. And we meet face-to-face once a year, and then we hold teleconference meetings once a quarter. So.
Let's talk about economic development. It seems that in our area that always rears its head.
Yep.
Do you feel that this will be a real boon?
Oh, absolutely, because my take on tourism is, I have a little phrase, all economic development is not tourism, but all tourism is economic development. So the more we can do to promote tourism and get folks to come into our county and spend their money, the better off economically we are.
Amen.
Yeah.
Now, are we getting? Do you interface with the county board members and so forth?
Yes.
I have. This is. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I have a feeling that we don't get complete cooperation between the county and the city. And I'm not going to ask you to make a comment. You can just whistle Dixie if you wish. But would you just say I'm right or wrong in my feeling?
I don't think it's a great secret that long before I ever knew anything about economic development in Logan County, I don't know its genesis, but I think it goes back that far. There's been this tension between the city and the county, and I'm not quite sure.
And why should there be?
Why should there be? That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want to do things that bring together, like the Visitors Welcome Centers. Let's bring together people from Lincoln, Pulaski, Elkhart, Atlanta, etc., because you can accomplish things.
Well, and we are interdependent.
We're very interdependent, and the crazy thing is, it's not just a Lincoln County thing, and it's not just Logan County. We're part of a central Illinois region, and if we're smart, we're going to think regionally when we think of economic development, not just per a single city or even our individual county. It's regional that's important.
And if we don't think it from that standpoint, you lose out.
You do, and I'll give you a case in point where regional is paying off for us. Logan County is one of 5 counties in something called the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. Okay? Peoria, Woodford, Tazewell, Logan, and another one. McLean. McLean County is not.
Menard?
No. Anyway, there are 5 counties.
One other guy.
And they actively, those 5 counties work together to do things to promote economic development. Mount Pulaski, I'm working with them right now to apply for a grant process that will put them in a room with representatives from federal and state level granting agencies in order to help them with their huge downtown square revitalization project. Do you know about that?
No,
Oh my
I don't.
gosh.
We'll have to get somebody on about that.
I will put you in touch because they are doing amazing things in Pulaski.
Yeah, fine. You just send me an email.
I will, Bill.
I appreciate that a lot.
I will.
Well, my roots kind of go deep back to Mount Pulaski. So my parents had friends over there, and we go back a long way. And I've got some very close and dear friends that.
It's a great little community, and they've banded together, and they're going to be helped. I have great confidence that they're going to be able to be successful in this application that they're going to submit in order to get to talk to funders, because they've got such a good project going on over there. But it's only because we are part of this regional organization that they have the opportunity in the first place.
Grants. That's always a word that has to come up.
Yep.
And the programs and projects that you promote so many times make those available to communities.
They do.
Grant writing is an art in and of itself, isn't it?
Yes.
It is an art in of itself, but you know what? I've learned, and I'm going to oversimplify this. It boils down to, can you read? And can you pay attention
Hello?
to what it is they want from you? Too many times I've seen grant applications written where the person writing it just, oh, this is what I want to communicate. No. The secret to grant writing is you read exactly what they've written, and if they say they want X, by golly, you tell them about X.
Yes.
You don't tell them about Y and Z. You tell them about X because that's what they want.
Well, but you see, now you're in a position to tell each of the communities that we've referenced that very factoid.
That before I came out here this morning, that's what I was doing. I got to work at 7, and we've got this grant application Pulaski's applying for, and I'm going through, it's got 4 sections, about 5 questions in each section, and I'm going through and I think, okay, what's the answer to this question? What's the answer to this question? That's going to position Pulaski in a favorable way.
Yeah,
That's what you
it's
do.
an art.
Yeah.
It's an art.
But it's fun. Oh my gosh, it's fun to do that. It is.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we have people out there that would say about this, and like you say, well, that's fun. That's your job. You're getting paid to do these jobs, and you do them well.
Well, it was this or be a coal miner.
Yeah.
And I was not going to do that.
None of those 16 tons a day
This
for you.
one.
No. I like Tennessee Henry Ford as much as anybody else, but I was not going to go into that field.
There are many challenges, but what would be the biggest challenge as you go about your daily work here?
I think the biggest challenge is promoting what I know works best. And what works best is, it's the old saw of, if you give a man you shouldn't just give a man a fish, you should teach him how to fish.
Yeah.
That's right.
So the primary thing over the years I've been doing this that I've tried to do is, let's set up in each community its own economic development group, because they have to own it if it's going to be successful. And if they don't own it, I can just dump truckloads of fish on them, but it's not going to work until they learn how to fish themselves.
It isn't their species of fish.
Right.
And you know your community.
Exactly. Better than anyone, there's wisdom in that community.
Are we working together here in Logan County, Bill?
Not as well as we should.
That's why I asked the question. Are
we still on the air?
An innate feeling, without any substance at all. It's just a gut feeling that I don't think I see people sitting down at the table in an amicable way, trying to work on solve problems.
Right. I think we need to expand our blinders so that our vision is a little bit wider.
Thank you,
makes
Bill
sense.
Thomas, very much for being
Oh my
with us this
gosh,
morning.
thank you guys too. I just love coming out.
We love to have you. My golly, I'll tell you, you got a mind, man.
Well, I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying desperately.
That's the only reason I'm still sitting here. I'm trying to keep it together.
I had to write an email to somebody this morning, and I said, because we're going to talk at 9:30 and I said, I got to get these thoughts to you before they slip my mind, which is becoming an ever-increasingly slippery slope.
Viewpoint appreciates your presence, Bill Thomas, talking about tourism in Logan County and how vitally important it really is to us. If you take the tourist dollars out of here, folks, oh boy, we'll be sucking on the wrong end of things. So,
Is that where you want to leave things?
I'll leave it on a more serious note.
Okay.
We, on behalf of Bill Thomas, Jim Ash, Judy Busby, myself, the old feller, we wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Drive carefully, folks.